baffling 400,000-year-old clue to human origin by Carl Zimmer for the New York Times, Wednesday, December 4th, 2013. Scientists have found the oldest DNA evidence yet of humans' biological history. But instead of neatly clarifying human evolution, the finding is adding new mysteries. In a paper in the Journal of Nature, scientists reported Wednesday that they had retrieved ancient human DNA from fossils dating back about 400,000 years, shattering the previous record of 100,000 years. The fossil, a thigh bone found in Spain, had previously seemed to many experts to belong to a forerunner of the Neanderthal, but its DNA tells a very different story. The most closely resembled DNA from an enigmatic lineage of humans known as Denisovans. Until now, Denisovans were known only from DNA retrieved from 80,000 years ago, remains in Siberia, 4,000 miles east of where the new DNA was found. The mismatch between the anatomical and genetic evidence surprised the scientists who are now rethinking human evolution over the past 100,000 years. It's possible, for example, that there are many extinct human populations that scientists have yet to discover, yet they might have interbred, swapping DNA. Scientists hope that further studies of extremely ancient human DNA will clarify the mystery. Right now, we've basically generated a big question mark, says Matthias Meyer, a geneticist at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany, and a co-author of the new study. Hints at new hidden complexities in the human stories came from a 400,000-year-old femur found in a cave in Spain called the Pit of Bones. The scientific team used new methods of extraction of the ancient DNA from the fossil. This would not have been possible even a year ago, says Juan Luis Azurraga, a paleoanthropologist at the University of Madrid and a co-author of the paper. Finding such ancient human DNA was a major advance, says David Reich, a geneticist at Harvard University Medical School, who is not involved in the study. That's an amazing, game-changing thing, he said. Since the 1970s, Spanish scientists have brought out a wealth of fossils from the cave dating back hundreds of thousands of years. The place is very special, says Dr. Azurraga, who has found 28 nearly complete skeletons of humans during 3 decades of excavation. Based on the anatomy of the fossils, Dr. Azurraga has argued that they belong to ancestors of Neanderthal, which lived in Western Asia and Europe from about 2,000 to 30,000 years ago. When Dr. Meyer and his colleagues drilled into the femur, they found ancient human DNA inside, just as they had hoped. Our expectation was that it would be a very early Neanderthal, Dr. Meyer said, but the DNA did not match that of Neanderthals. Dr. Meyer then compared it to the DNA of Denisovans an ancient human lineage that he and his colleagues have discovered in Siberia in 2010. He was shocked to find that it was similar. Everybody had a hard time believing it at first. Dr. Myers said, so we generated more and more data to nail it down. The extra research confirmed the DNA belonged to Denisovan branch of the human family tree. The new finding is hard to reconcile with the picture of human evolution that has emerged based on fossils and ancient DNA of Denisovans were believed to be limited to East Asia, and they went not and they were not thought to look so like Neanderthal. Based on previously discovered ancient DNA and fossil evidence, scientists genetically agree that humans' direct ancestors shared a common ancestor with Neanderthal and Denisovans that lived about a half a million years ago in Africa. Their shared ancestral split off from human lineage and left Africa, and then split further into the Denisovan and Neanderthal about 300,000 years ago. The evidence suggests that Neanderthals headed west towards Europe and that Denisovans moved east. Human ancestors, meanwhile, stayed in Africa, giving rise to Homo sapiens about 200,000 years ago. Humans then expanded from Africa into Asia and Europe about 60,000 years ago. They then interbred not only with Neanderthals, but with Denisovans too. Later, both Denisovans and Neanderthals became extinct. Now we have to rethink the whole story, Dr. Asuma says. Dr. Asuraga doubts that Denisovans were spread out across so much of the old world, from Spain to Siberia, masquerading as Neanderthals. One alternative explanation is that humans in uh, in the pit of bones were not true Neanderthals, but belonged to the ancestors of both Denisovans and Neanderthals. It is also possible that the newly discovered DNA passed to both Neanderthal and Denisovans, but eventually disappeared from Neanderthals, replaced by other variants. It got lost in one lineage but made its way in the other, suggested Jean-Jacques Hiblon, a Max Planck paleoanthropologist who was not involved in the research. Beth Shapiro, an expert on ancient DNA at the University of California at Santa Cruz, favors even more radical possibilities that the human in the pit of bones belonged to yet another branch of humans. They might have been a species called Homo erectus, which originated about 1.8 million years ago and became extinct within the last few 100,000 years. The more we learn from the DNA extracted from these fossils, the more complicated the story becomes, Dr. Shapiro says. This complicated story has become a light only because of advances over the past 20 years in retrieving ancient DNA. When an organism dies, the DNA breaks down into smaller and smaller fragments while becoming contaminated with the DNA of other species like soil bacteria. So piecing the fossil DNA together is a bit like putting together a jigsaw puzzle created by a sadist. In 1997, Savant Pabo of the Max Planck Institute and his colleagues who had pioneered the technique for retrieving DNA fragments published a snippet of DNA from a Neanderthal fossil dating back about 40,000 years. They and other scientists built on this success by searching for bits of DNA from other Neanderthals. In 2006, a team of French and Belgian researchers obtained a fragment of DNA, of Neanderthal DNA dating back 100,000 years, which until now held the record for the oldest human DNA ever found. Meanwhile, using improved methods, Dr. Pablo, Dr. Meyer, and their colleagues assembled a rough draft of the entire Neanderthal genome in 2010. That discovery shed light on how Neanderthals and human ancestors split from a common ancestor hundreds of thousands of years ago. It also revealed that Neanderthals and humans interbred about 50,000 years ago. Across the same time as that discovery, Russian collaborators sent the Max Planck team 80,000 the team 80,000-year-old fossils they had found in a cave in Siberia called Denisova. When the German scientists sequenced the entire genome from the finger bone of a girl, it had turned out that neither human nor Neanderthal, but a separate lineage, which Dr. Pablo and his colleagues named Denisovans. The Dr. Meyer is hopeful that he and his colleagues will be able to get more DNA from the Spanish fossils as well as other fossils from the site to help solve the puzzle that they have now stumbled across. It's extremely hard to make sense of what Dr. Meyer said. We still are a bit lost here.